thousands of years of training in my brain that says, don't murder the large man.
Right. Whereas,
Even if I'm thinking, if I murder the large man, I'm going to save 5 lives and only kill the woman, but there's something deeper down that says, don't murder the large man, right?
in that case, I think it's a pretty easy case. Even though it's 5 versus 1, in that case, people just go with what we might call the inner chimp. But there are other... But
The
there are...
inner chimp is your, unfortunate way of describing an act of deep goodness.
Right, well, that's what's interesting.
The 10 Commandments, for God's
Right.
inner chimp.
Right. Well, what's interesting is that we think of basic human morality as being handed down from on high. And it's probably better to say that it was handed up from below. That our most basic core moral values are not the things that we humans have invented, but the things that we've actually inherited from other people. The stuff that we humans have invented are the things that seem more peripheral and variable.
But something as basic as thou shalt not kill, you're suggesting that hundreds of thousands of years of on-the-ground training have gotten our brains to think, don't kill your kin. Don't
Right,
kill
or at
your-
least, that should be your default response. I mean, certainly chimpanzees are extremely violent, and they do kill each other, but they don't do it as a matter of course. They, so to speak, have to have some context-sensitive reason for doing so.
So now we're getting to the rub of it. Do you think that profound moral positions may be somehow embedded in brain chemistry?
Yeah.
That's a cool idea, though, that when you have these gut feelings, when we talk about our gut, I know in my gut this is right or this is wrong, really in that moment, that's evolution talking.
Yeah, he calls it our inner chimp.
And that phrase bothers you.
Well, yeah, inner chimp. It's an interesting way.
Well, you'd be glad to know that it was a phrase that was not too familiar to a guy who specializes in chimps.
My name is Frans de Waal, and I'm a professor at Emory University. I also work at the Yerkes Primate Center in Atlanta, Georgia. But we'll see. Maybe they make some noise without food.
Franz de Waal he knows chimps. He's observed chimps, in some cases the same chimps, for the last 3 decades. And though he doesn't use the phrase inner chimp, he would agree that human morality is not special. All you have to do is watch chimps do their thing for 5 minutes to see that, which we did.
So,
He took us on a little walk around his office.
115 acres of land here in the middle of Atlanta, with 2,000 primates,
Some bonobos, gorillas.
mostly
He
monkeys.
keeps his chimps in big stadium-type enclosures. They're like gladiator rings with high walls and no roof. And off to one side, there's an observation tower. On the way to one of these big things, we had to pass through some woods and we crossed a blackberry bush, at which point Franz stopped.
I'm gonna cut a few branches of blackberry. They like blackberry a lot.
This is him cutting the branches.
They love the young shoots. You will see. Pull this one out.
And this is him tasting one.
Well, not bad at all.
Anyhow, a few minutes later, we climbed the ladder to the observation tower so we could see the chimps down below. 15 chimps were milling around in the heat. And then,
All right, guys.
this is the cool part, with a big smile on his face, Franz drops the branch into the enclosure.
Oops.
There it goes, land stud, 20 feet below, right in front of a female.
That's a young female, Katie, who takes it. She has the enormous branches of blackberry. There's one female coming over. They're not going to be happy to share. You see? There's a fight.
So there's a fight, but you hear how it stops like that on a dime?
You didn't edit the tape?
No, I didn't.
Really? Stop
Unedited
like
tape,
that?
raw tape.
Well, what happened? What happened?
What happened was that the alpha male, #1 chimp, comes out, and then everyone shuts up.
The alpha male is coming over. He's here.
And then after him comes #2.
Now the second male has taken the food.
And then the two of them stand together for a while. Who knows what they're doing, but eventually #2 takes the branch and walks toward the back of the enclosure.
You see he's being followed by females.
At the back of the enclosure is a hut, a little building. And one by one, all 15 chimps file in after him.
Now they're going in the building with the branch, which is bad for us. because we may not hear a lot.
Can we see what they're doing?
Mm-mm. Unfortunately not. But there's no need to wonder, because Franz told us what they're doing. He's seen it a million times. This is how they share.
They will probably divide the thing, and then some individuals will have a large branch, and then they will start sharing with the rest.
See, they have the system. Anytime some food lands in the enclosure and the juveniles get it and they can't decide who gets what, the adults will take it, lead everyone into the hut, where they will divide the branch into pieces.
Usually in the end, everybody gets something. We have this wonderful word. We do something nice, we call it humane behavior, meaning that we borrow from our species name to describe it. But it's actually a very ancient tendency.
Ancient, Franz says, because the only way our primate ancestors made it this far was through cooperation.
And that's the key. So, of course, if you fall and stumble and bleed and are in trouble, I should respond to that, because my survival also depends on how you are doing. That doesn't mean that there's no nastiness.
Chimps do fight, they do kill each other, but on the whole, they get along. And they've gotten along for so long that evolution, he says, has etched some really basic instincts into our brains. Sharing, reciprocity, and the most basic one of all,
If you were to remove the capacity for empathy
empathy.
from morality, the whole thing falls apart. Then it just becomes a bunch of rules.
You know, people disagree about this. What's the real essence of morality? Is it thoughts? Is it feelings? Franz says it's empathy.
And you can see very striking instances of empathy in the apes.
He literally has 100 different examples. And here's a really good one. And it's interesting to hear this in light of what just happened at the Cincinnati Zoo, where a boy fell in and that whole thing. Here's an instance of the same scenario that happened actually before that. You may remember.
There's this famous case in the Brookfield Zoo where a gorilla rescued a boy who had fallen into the enclosure. This happened like 10 years ago.
It was a parent's nightmare. A 3-year-old boy had climbed over a railing and fallen 18 feet into the gorilla pit.
What did the gorilla in that case do?
She went over to pick up the boy.
As he lay injured and unconscious on the concrete, Binti gently scooped him up.
She sat down with the boy, she patted him on the back, and she seemed to calm him down.
Then she did something amazing.
She carried him probably about 50 or 60 feet.
And then she brought him to a place where people could get to him.
Paramedics quickly removed the boy from the pit.
All of this was videotaped because there were people there videotaping it. It's incredible.
I never thought a gorilla would do that.
And a big deal was made of it in the media, but actually the response of that gorilla to the boy who had fallen in was a very common, typical ape response.
If you're wondering what Franz de Waal makes of the situation that just happened recently at the Cincinnati Zoo, you can go to our website, radiolab.org. You'll find a blog post about his response where you can actually read what he says. But in any case, there you go.
Look, I'll concede the point that, you know, when Mount Sinai happened, that wasn't the beginning of creatures learning to do good or knowing the difference between good and bad. But I will say that I still think there's a difference between human beings and apes and monkeys. It's a tangible difference, and let me do one more story. This is a Josh Green story.
Okay.
I don't think you could handle this one if you were a monkey. It's even hard to handle if you're a human.
The situation is somewhat similar to the last episode of MASH, for people who are familiar with that. But the way we told the story, it goes like this. It's wartime.
There's an enemy patrol coming down the road.
You are hiding in the basement with some of your fellow villagers,
Let's kill those lights.
and the enemy soldiers are outside. They have orders to kill anyone that they find.
Quiet. Nobody make a sound until they passed us.
So there you are, you're huddled in the basement. All around you are enemy troops, and you're holding your baby in your arms. Your baby with a cold, a bit of a sniffle. And you know that your baby could cough at any moment.
If they hear your baby, they're going to find you and the baby and everyone else, and they're going to kill everybody. And the only way you can stop this from happening is cover the baby's mouth. But if you do that, the baby's going to smother and die. If you don't cover the baby's mouth, soldiers are going to find everybody, and everybody's going to be killed, including you, including your baby.
And you have the choice. Would you smother your own baby to save the village? Or would you let your baby cough, knowing the consequences?
And this is a very tough question. People take a long time to think about it. And some people say yes, and some people say no.
Children are a blessing and a gift from God, and we do not do that to children.
Yes, I think I would kill my baby to save everyone else and myself.
No, I would not kill a baby.
I feel because it's my baby, I have the right to terminate the life.
I'd like to say that I would kill the baby, but I don't know if I'd have the inner strength.
No, if it comes down to killing my own child, my own daughter, or my own son, then I choose that.
Yeah, if you have to, because it was done in World War II. When the Germans were coming around, there was a mother that had a baby that was crying, and rather to be found, she actually suffocated the baby, but the other people lived.
Sounds like an old MASH thing. No, you do not kill your baby.
In the final MASH episode, the Korean woman who's a character in this piece, she murders her baby.
She killed it. She killed it.
Oh my God! Oh my God! I didn't mean for her to kill it. I just wanted it to be quiet. It was a baby. She smothered her own baby.
What Josh did is he asked people the question, would you murder your own child while they were in the brain scanner? And at just the moment when they were trying to decide what they would do, he took pictures of their brains. And what he saw, the contest we described before, was global in the brain. It was like a world war. That gang of accountants in that part of the brain was busy calculating. A whole village could die, a whole village could die. But the older and deeper reflex also was lit up, shouting, don't kill the baby. No, don't kill the baby. Inside, the brain was literally divided. Do the calculations. Don't kill the baby. Do the calculations. Two different tribes in the brain literally trying to shout each other out. And Jen, this was a different kind of contest than the ones we talked about before. Remember before, when people were pushing a man off of a bridge, overwhelmingly their brains yelled, no, don't push the man. And when people were pulling the lever, overwhelmingly, yeah, pull the lever. Right. There it was distinct. Here, I don't think really anybody wins.
Well, who breaks the tie? I mean, they had to answer something, right?
That's a good question. And now, is there what happens? Is it just two cries that fight each other out, or is there a judge?
Well, that's an interesting question, and that's one of the things that we're looking at.
When you are in this moment with parts of your brain contesting, there are two brain regions.
These two areas here, towards the front,
right behind your eyebrows, left and right, that light up. And this is particular to us. He showed me a slide.
It's those sort of areas that are very highly developed in humans as compared to other species.
So when we have a problem that we need to deliberate over, the front of the brain, this is above my eyebrow, sort of?
Yeah, right about there.
And there's two of them, one on the left and one on the right.
Bilateral.
And they are the things that monkeys don't have as much of that we have.
Certainly these parts of the brain are more highly developed in humans.
So looking at these two flashes of light at the front of a human brain, you could say we are looking at what makes us special.
So that's a fair statement.
A human being wrestling with a problem. That's what that is.
Yeah, where it's both emotional, but there's also a sort of a rational attempt to sort of sort through those emotions. Those are the cases that are showing more activity in that area.
So in those cases, when these dots above our eyebrows become active, what are they doing?
Well, he doesn't know for sure, but what he found is in these close contests, whenever those nodes are very, very active, it appears that the calculating section of the brain gets a bit of a boost, and the visceral inner chimp section of the brain is kind of muffled.
No!
The people who chose to kill their children, who made what is essentially a logical decision over and over, those subjects had brighter glows in these two areas and longer glows in these two areas. So there is a definite association between these two dots above the eyebrow and the power of the logical brain over the inner chimp or the visceral brain.
Well, that's the hypothesis. It's going to take a lot of more research to sort of tease apart what these different parts of the brain are doing, or if some of these are just sort of activated in an incidental kind of way. I mean, we really don't know. This is all very new.
And how many people chose to kill their baby?
About half.
Wow, that's not bad.
What do you mean it's not bad? You're in favor of killing the baby.
Well, what would you do?
Me? I must have a very noisy chimp.
Yeah?
Because it wouldn't even consider.
I would kill the baby.
You would?
The village will go on to have 100 babies. Your baby is just one.
My baby is my world. My baby is my universe. So I don't.
You're going to erase all those people based on your one child?
Well, wait, first of all, the audience should know that Jan Abumrad does not have a child of his own yet. So what you can't know is you can't know what it would be like to look into your own daughter's face, your own son's face, and in that life.
Yeah, you're right.
I know you. You couldn't do that.
Look, agreed. I don't know what I would do really, but if you're just asking me right now, in the abstract, which is more right, well, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't act on behalf of the greater good.
Look, you know what I think? I think the real essence of a moral sense, if you want to bring this discussion to its real end, you say, what is it about human beings that the animals still don't have and may never have, I hope will never have?
Mm-hmm.
Guilt.
Guilt?
Yeah, guilt. The ability to blush.
That's the one expression that the apes don't have, as far as I know. Shame and guilt. I'm not sure that they are particularly well developed in the chimpanzee.
Wow.